everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. I'm Mahashri, Marketing Analyst at Zoho Analytics, and I'm joining you from Chennai. With 2022 coming to an end and with this being our last webinar of the year, we thought we'll take a look back at the various developments that we've brought into the product over the past year. Now, while we do have a number of updates for you on various fronts of analytics, we've brought together the most sought after new features for you in this webinar today. So without further ado, here's the 2022 rundown, 40 key features in 40 minutes. So we'll get started by looking at the category of updates. So this is nothing but the bird's eye view of the various fronts in which we've brought updates for you. Then we move on to the main discussion, that is the 40 key features that we'll be discussing in detail. After that, we have a summary that is a quick recap of the session. And finally, we'll have a couple of our analytics experts over to have the interactive Q&A session. So here's the category of updates. So as you can see, our team has worked on taking a well-rounded approach to bringing updates this year. So right from data import through visual analytics, all the way to admin and white labeling, we've got some news for you. Now, before I get started with these updates, for the sake of those that are new to Zoho Analytics, I thought I'll quickly tell you about who we are and what we do. So Zoho Analytics is a self-service BI and analytics platform. We started out in the year 2009 and are among the pioneers in the self-service BI space. Today, Zoho Analytics enjoys the loyalty of 14,000 plus customers and over 2 million users across 150 different countries. The platform enables you to seamlessly import and blend your data from over 250 plus data sources. So this could be files, feeds, local or cloud databases, as well as popular business apps. Now, once you have your data inside the analytics platform, you can visually analyze it with a plethora of pre-built reports and dashboards that help you jumpstart your analytics. Additionally, you can also create custom reports with the drag and drop interface or the ML-powered AI assistant. The platform offers more than 50 ways to visualize your data as charts like the geomap, heat map, and so on, as well as pivot tables, dashboards, and widgets. Now, over and above that, we facilitate effective collaboration through our data storytelling capabilities. Now, Zoho Analytics is tightly integrated with Zoho Show, which enables you to live stream your reports and dashboards in the form of slideshows or presentations. You can also opt for the purpose-built analytics portals that allow you to publish your reports and dashboards as a microsite and share it among your stakeholders. All right, folks, so with that quick introduction to the product, let's move on to check out the 40 most sought-after features of this year. So we'll get started with data import. Now, as I've already mentioned, Zoho Analytics enables you to import data from a wide range of data sources. And we're constantly looking to add more data sources to this list to make the platform data agnostic on a whole. So in that context, first up, we have a couple of native integrations with some business apps that we'll look at. So with native integrations, the process of setting up an integration with a business app becomes very simple and seamless. You just have to go through a couple of steps and authenticate your business app account once, and you're all set for analysis. So as you can see, we have SEMrush, Google Search Console, HubSpot Marketing, and a couple of more other business app connectors for you today. So with each of these connectors, for each of them, we provide 100 plus connector-specific pre-built reports and dashboards that help you analyze your key metrics faster. Additionally, you can also customize your reports by creating reports on your own with the drag and drop interface that we spoke about earlier. And you can also blend data from multiple business apps to be analyzed into a single report, thereby enabling cross-functional analytics. And finally, you can also utilize the domain-trained ML capabilities to better extract data insights. All right, so with that, we'll move on to check out one of the pre-built dashboards that we have for HubSpot Marketing. So this is just one of the many dashboards that we support for this connector. So the moment you integrate with HubSpot Marketing, you will get a plethora of pre-built reports and dashboards, and we have one of the dashboards embedded over here for your reference. So as you can see, we have a couple of important metrics lined up over here on top as widgets, and they're followed by some reports that are also pre-built, and these reports are blog performance specific. So we have blogs created monthly trend, blogs published monthly trend, and so on. Additionally, to access more insights, you can always switch tabs on the top left-hand side corner. So if I switch from blog performance to forms, I get some forms-related metrics right here. And similarly, I can switch to contacts and website performance as well. So as I said, this is one of the many dashboards that we support. And similarly, you can find such pre-built dashboards available for our other integrations as well. So with that, we looked at the new business app connectors that we've onboarded this year. But we've also brought enhancements to some of our existing connectors that we'll be looking at next. So over here, we have the lineup of the various business apps in which we've brought enhancements. So overall, we've introduced new modules and fields from which you can import data now across these different business apps. So with this, you can perform deeper analysis on your data. And over and above that, we've also got some connector-specific updates. For instance, the Zoho Finance Suite now supports importing data from multiple organizations. Premium users and Zoho One subscribers can sync up to 25 organizations, while the enterprise users can sync up to 100 organizations. As for Zoho projects, we've now introduced the task issue mapping, and you can also analyze data based on the baseline. For Zoho CRM, we've extended the limit of default fields to import from 100 to 200. And for the rest, we've introduced a couple of new modules and fields. So with that, we'll move on to another enhancement that we've brought to the business app connectors. So these are a couple of data sync updates. So the enterprise plan now supports data sync from business applications every 1 hour. So you can also choose the modules and fields that you want to sync, and this makes sure that your insights are up to date and relevant. And in case of any sync failures, you will get notified via email or through in-app notifications to bring your immediate attention to them. As a third point, the data sync history will now be retained for the last 45 days in the form of a calendar. So here's the snippet of a sample calendar over here. It's been color-coded to indicate sync successes and failures. And additionally, you can always hover over the calendar to view the number of times the data has got synced on a given date. So with that, we looked at the business app connectors and certain updates on them. But we've also looked at onboarding new databases into the platform. So we now support Live Connect with these databases in addition to those that we already support. So as for cloud databases, we have Greenplum database, Vertica, MongoDB, as well as Single Store. And we support more than 10 local databases with which we've set up Live Connects. So not only have we gotten new databases, but we've also established a more secure network connection for your local and cloud databases using SSH tunneling. So you can see it highlighted over here in the screenshot. And finally, again, as an effort to expand our data import capabilities, the platform now supports importing KML files as spatial data for creating geo-visualizations. So you can check that out highlighted as well. All right, so with that, we've wrapped up the updates that we had for data import. The next step after import is to model or prepare your data into a suitable format for analysis. So that brings us to the next category of updates, data modeling and preparation. So first up, we have a couple of query table functions that we've introduced this year. So these are functions that convert the data type of your query table's columns. So to currency converts the data type of your column to currency, to percentage converts to percentage, to decision box converts Boolean values like 1 or 0 to yes or no. And finally, to positive integer converts your data column to a positive number. So let's say that you have some sales data that you want to analyze, and you may have this data in numbers. Now, it would be better if you represented this with a currency notation. So in that case, you can use toCurrency and access the 50 plus currency notations that are currently available in Zoho Analytics and choose the currency accordingly for your analysis. So that is where this finds application. So moving on, we have a screenshot over here. So adjacent to the query table editor and under SQL functions and further under general functions, you can find these data type conversion functions that we have. Moving on, another important update is that we've now introduced the duration data type. So this is introduced to keep track of your time-related metrics like the time taken to complete tasks or the time taken to close tickets. So this data type supports various aggregate functions and also comes with a set of formula functions specific to the data type to make operations easier. And in the screenshot over here, you can check out the various formats in which you can represent your duration. Moving on, data prep is now supported for data imports from paginated feeds. So this allows you to clean and transform your data before you push it to analysis when you're importing from paginated feeds as well. Moving on, we also noticed that a lot of you were importing data from other Zoho Analytics workspaces. So we've enabled data preparational functionalities for imports from other analytics workspaces as well. So with that, we sum up the updates that we had for data preparation, and we'll be moving on to the next category, visual analytics. So with visual analytics, you can analyze and present your insights in a digestible form. So let's check out what are the new updates that we have over here. So first up, we have some Ask Zia updates. For those of you that know, Ask Zia is a interaction with an intelligent assistant where you can interact with Zia, converse with Zia, and create reports, analyze your data, and do much more. It's a great way of humanizing data interactions. So in that sense, we've now got 3 main updates. So you can now invoke Ask Zia from the workspace search as well. And secondly, Ask Zia now intuitively suggests follow-up questions based on your previous interactions. And as a last point, you can now embed Ask Zia as a private link across various channels, and this helps enable Ask Zia in a secured environment. So we'll understand these updates with more clarity with an upcoming demo video. All right, folks, so over here you can see that when I clicked on the workspace search, I can find Ask Zia right here. So I can ask questions or also check out the suggested questions that are given. Additionally, I can analyze my data with this interface. So in this case, I'm going to analyze some sales data. So as you can see, when I searched or when I asked for the sales by region, I automatically get a report generated with my sales across different regions. Now, once I've performed this analysis, you can see that Ask Zia intuitively asks follow-up questions automatically. So do I want to further analyze my sales by region, by product, by customer name, by date, and so on? So in this case, I'm going to analyze it by year. So what have been my sales across different regions over the various years? So once I choose this, you can see that I have a report generated for this as well. Moving to the third point, you can now check out the embedded settings, and with Access with Login, you can privately enable Ask Zia across different channels. So next, we have a couple of Zia Insights updates. So Zia Insights is Zoho Analytics automated insights capability, and it was one of the most sought after features when we launched Zoho Analytics 5.0. So since then, we've had customers come back and make requests to offer Zia Insights in languages other than English. So as a first step in that regard, we've now launched Zia Insights in Spanish. And as a second update over here, Zia Insights now supports predictive narration that is included in medium and high verbosities. So this lets you get to your predictive narration faster, and you need not necessarily do a separate analysis. However, if you do want to perform deeper predictions, you can always make use of our other tools. So we'll check out this with another demo video. So over here, I have a report and I have some automated insights given over here as Zia Insights. So under language settings, I can choose to have my insights given in Spanish. So once I do this, you can see that I have my Spanish insights right here. Moving on, you can also find the predictive narration that's been highlighted in this particular screenshot. So you can see that Zia Insights has predicted some sales projections over the next 3 months for some sales data. All right, so with that, we'll move on to the next update. So we've now enhanced our Live Connect capabilities. So you can now apply aggregate and custom formula on data that is from Live Connect. So this gives you more possibilities to analyze your live data. Update number 14. You can now choose to represent your negative forecast values as 0. It's a simple feature that's given right here that may suit your specific use cases. Moving on, Zoho Analytics now supports representing 1,000 separators as per the international system or the Indian system that you can choose from. Up next, we have a couple of geo-visualization enhancements. Now, geo-visualizations are a powerful visualization capability that is supported by the platform. So in that context, we've got 2 interesting updates. The first one being that you can now import latitude and longitude data in the DMS format. And secondly, the platform automatically identifies the country and state level alpha codes when you import data. So we'll check this out again with a couple of screenshots. So as you can see, we've highlighted the DMS format when you import data. And secondly, you can see that the platform has automatically identified the alpha codes and has also automatically identified their data types. Up next, we have a couple of pivot table and summary view enhancements. So the first one is that you can now choose to hide empty columns in your pivot tables that do not have any data. So this is enabled to be able to view just the relevant data. And secondly, you can choose to set the compact width of your columns. So both these updates are to improve the readability of your table. And we'll check them out with some demo videos again. So over here, you can check out the hide column feature under show or hide. And when you select columns, right at the bottom, you have this feature that you can choose to enable or disable. And up next, we have another demo video. So in this particular pivot table, you can see that I'll have to scroll sideways to view all my data. So instead of doing this, I can choose to have these columns in a more compact way. So when I go to my settings and under layout, I can select compact. And as you can see, I get the table in a more readable form over here where I can view all the data points in one roof. So moving on, we have a couple of tabular view enhancements. So you can now format your tabular view as a table. So this essentially removes the extra cells or columns that do not have any values and represents just the relevant data. And secondly, we now support the relative time filters for tabular views as well. So we'll again look at this with a screenshot. So as you can see, we have the relative time filter over here, by clicking on which you can choose to view your data from the last 3 months, last 5 days, and so on. So this is to increase the usability of the tabular view. Moving on, we now support trend lines for charts with the color column. which was earlier not enabled. So we'll look at this again with another demo video. All right, so in this particular case, we have this report, which is a bugs closure trend. So how many bugs have we closed across the various months? And as you can see, we also have a trend line given over here that essentially smoothens out the fluctuations in your trend and gives just the underlying trend in your report. So in this case, I may want to further analyze my data based on the severity of my bugs. So when I drop the severity under the color column, you can see that I generate two trend lines with the critical and major severities. So earlier, we did not have two trend lines being represented in the same report. However, over here, you can see that we have different trend lines for the different trends that we have. Moving on. Zoho Analytics now supports the time slicer as a timeline filter in dashboard. So this time slicer essentially provides a dynamic filtering capability with which you can choose from a range of time periods to filter out data. So we'll look at that with a bit of clarity. So right here, when I select my timeline filter, you can see that I can filter out by year, quarter, months, weeks, and so on. I can set the range in data from which I want to filter out my data and also make use of the slider that I have over here. So once I do this, my data gets filtered out accordingly and just the relevant data insights are given over here in the dashboard. So this filter is not tightly bound to any data column in a single table. It supports an infinite date range for filtering out your dashboard timelines. All right, so with that, we conclude our updates for visual analytics and we'll be moving on to collaboration. So one of the most exciting updates that we have in collaboration is that we now support an in-app integration with Zoho Click, which is a team communication application. So with this, you can set up in-context communication in your workspaces with your collaborators. You can hold one-on-one conversations with your contacts, or also create Click groups within the workspace to facilitate group discussions. So we'll look at how this can be set up. So as you can see under settings and further under manage groups, you can select the groups that you want to start your Click conversation with. So once you enable this, you can collaborate with your workspace participants and discuss your reports and dashboards. Up next, we now support watermarks when you export dashboards as a PDF. This is to ensure better ownership and protection of your data insights when you share them. Update number 23, we have a couple of tabular view enhancements. So you can now choose to apply the default user filters while exporting tabular views. So this essentially enables you with fine-grained access controls into what data you are sharing among different users. You can also add a row number column to your tabular views while exporting data. So this option over here will auto-generate sequential numbers for all the exported rows and hence improves the readability of your view. All right, so over here, we've highlighted the apply default users option that we have while exporting tabular views. And up next, you can also check out the row numbers feature that we've added. So that's about it for collaboration, folks. We'll move on to the next category, that is UI UX. So while we do have a number of updates under this category, we've brought just the important updates for you. So first up, we have a couple of dependency details enhancements. So with this, you can understand how your various views are connected with each other, and we'll get started. So first up, the views now include dashboards. So earlier, when you clicked on the dependency details of your views, you only got the table the view was created from. But now you can see the dashboards the view was used in as well. As for tables, you can now view the immediate child tables. For query tables, you can now view the multiple level parent as well as child tables, which was not earlier supported. And lastly, these dependency details can be invoked from the Explorer and model diagram. So over here, when I click on the dependency details of my view, I can also get to look at the various child views it's been used in, dashboards, and so on. Moving on, we have a couple of Explorer enhancements. So these enhancements are to essentially make easy the search, find, and navigation operations that you do in the Explorer. So up first, you have the option to select an entire folder now, which was earlier not present. And we also have our folders included in the search results in the Explorer. Earlier, we only had reports and dashboards. And finally, we support folder hierarchy in the Explorer as well as the reports navigation tab. So again, we have another demo video. So as you can see, when I have selected the folder, all my reports and dashboards in this particular folder get selected as well. And additionally, when I key in some words in the search, I also, in this case, I've keyed in pipeline, and you can check out that I have a folder called pipeline reports that has been one of the results. Up next, we have another important update under UI UX. So the reports designer now supports the undo and redo actions as a UX enhancement. So this essentially allows you to easily revert the changes while designing a report. You can see that I've highlighted the feature in the screenshot. Update number 27, you can now view your shared details from settings. So this is to give you easy access to check out where you're sharing or to whom you're sharing your reports and what access they've got to your insights. Update 28, a more information dialog has been added to all the views in Zoho Analytics. So this brings together all the view-related information in one place. So from now on, with a single dialog, you can view various fields such as the title, description, data source, dependency details of your views, and so on. Moving on, we've revamped the organization settings page UI. So we now have a more categorized settings page, making navigation much easier. Now, finally, under this category, we have a quick but an important update. So for those of you that have been crunching a lot of data, we now support keyboard shortcuts for deleting your columns. So for Mac, it's Command Delete, and for Windows, it's Control Delete. So with that, we wrap up our UI UX category, and we'll be moving on to admin. So first up, you can now export the blueprint of your views from one workspace to another. So this reduces the effort and time involved in recreating similar reports across different departments or business units. You can instead easily export the views and import new data into the same model. Next, we've simplified the process of reconfiguring data sources in copied workspaces. So with this update, you can copy the workspace with the data source, which means that you copy the workspace with the relevant data source settings, along with copying the other reports. So this reduces the effort taken to reconfigure the data source again in the new workspace. Moving on, Zoho Analytics now allows you to email views from the organizational email addresses as well. This is in addition to the notifications at zohoanalytics.com. So this helps you customize your email address while you're exporting views. Moving on, we have some API calls audit log update. So you must be aware that we have an extensive API stack supported in Zoho Analytics. You can now audit your API call logs with this update. So this allows you to monitor information like the API calls that were frequently made, who made them, and so on. So essentially, it brings more clarity to how you're using the APIs and helps you gain an understanding of the future API requirements that your business might have. And as you can see, this is a screenshot of a dashboard that we support along with this update, capturing the essentials of your API call logs. Update 35. You can also audit the activities in your business apps for the last 180 days. This is to give you more clarity on how you're using your business applications. 36. You will now be able to use the unused users in your account as viewers. So previously you needed to purchase the viewers as a separate add-on license, but now in case you have excess users and or in requirement for viewers, you can simply use the excess users license for your viewers. Moving on. Previously, the connector setup could only be edited by the admin that created the setup, but now we've enabled this for all the organizational admins to have better usability of the product. You can see that we've again highlighted the feature in the screenshot. Moving on, as a final category, we'll explore a couple of updates for those of you that require white labeling. So white label users can now do the domain mapping and verification from the Zoho Analytics user interface itself. This allows them to configure the white label solution in a secured and user-friendly manner. Secondly, the white label solution now also supports a single sign-on method through the JWT algorithm. So this securely authenticates your details and provides a hassle-free sign-on process. Moving on. You can now customize your white labeled mobile app from the Zoho Analytics account itself. So you specify your requirements, upload the necessary certifications and files all in one place, and you can get started with this process, which has become much more easier. So with that, we wrap up our the last category of the day. But before we move on to the summary, we will explore a couple of mobile app enhancements that we have. So as for the mobile apps, we now support two new chart types, that is the bubble pie chart and the word cloud. Next, we also enabled ZIA Insights in the mobile app, and you can check it out in the screenshot over here. And finally, as a last update for the day, Zoho Analytics is now HIPAA compliant in order to protect the privacy and security of healthcare information. So data security and privacy is a governing principle of Zoho Analytics, and we're happy to let you know that we've reached another milestone in this area. So with that, we'll be moving on to the summary, folks. So under data import, we looked at the new business app connectors, enhancements to the existing connectors, a couple of database updates, and finally at KML support and SSH tunneling. For data preparation, we looked at the new query table functions, the duration data type, and data preparation functionalities supported for different types of data import. For visual analytics, we had a bunch of updates, right from our ZIA and ZIA Insights updates, all the way through the negative forecast being represented as 0, some geo-visualization enhancements, pivot tabular view enhancements, and finally add trend lines for charts with a color column and time slicers in dashboards. As for collaboration, we looked at the Zoho Click support in workspaces, exporting dashboards as a PDF with watermarks, and finally a couple of tabular view enhancements. For UI UX, we started off by looking at the dependency details, the undo redo action, which is now supported, information dialog for views, and finally at the organization settings page UI revamp and keyboard shortcuts for delete operations. For admin, we looked at the blueprint of views, emailing views from multiple organizational address and email addresses, and finally at API calls, audit log, and the excess users license being used as viewers. For white labeling, we had three main updates: the domain mapping and verification from Zoho Analytics, the single sign-on method, and how you can customize your white labeled mobile app. And finally, before concluding the session, we looked at a couple of mobile app updates, and as a last update, we had HIPAA compliance. All right, folks, thank you everyone for joining today. You can always write to us at support@zohoanalytics.com, visit our website, or also access our release notes to learn more about these updates. Thank you, everyone, and happy holidays ahead.